Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors.
Good morning. It's Thursday, May 29th. I'm Philip Streible, Chief Market Strategist at Blue Line Futures. What a wild evening here, and that's why it's important to have a futures trading account. All the action, all the price action has been in the after hours. Even crude oil futures pushing up into the resistance zone at $63 to $65 before settling back and now at $62. So if you're trading something like USO, you're really unable to capitalize on that. So I'll be on CNBC this afternoon discussing the copper and silver market about 1:30 Central Time. My partner Bill Baruch, he'll be on the halftime show for the full hour block at 11 a.m. Central Time. So a quick note on NVIDIA. I did a video yesterday saying that NVIDIA's growth really could ignite a rally in the silver market, but the reality is, and it was more of a teaser video here or a teaser headline here, but the reality is that AI new semiconductors are a fresh catalyst that could drive silver and copper demand. Now, NVIDIA expects about $45 billion in revenue in the second fiscal quarter, and that comes despite the restrictions here costing about $8 billion in Chinese revenue. The company is ramping up its production of its latest semiconductor design, Blackwell, offering the chips as part of the whole computer system to speed up the AI deployment. So if you look at your phone and you go, hey, this thing's running slow, this thing's starting to overheat, things like that, it's because AI is running in the background of almost every different web browser application that's out there, which will require people to go out and buy new technology, and that's where that technology has that silver, copper, other rare earth elements out there, other metals and things like that to help support not only the demand but outstrip some of the supply. Now, we were up late last night and I talked to many clients into the early evening hours. I must have checked my phone a dozen times as the U.S. court blocked many of President Trump's tariffs on imports from a dozen different countries, declaring them illegal. The court ruling could eliminate new tariffs on imports from China, Canada, Mexico, and other countries, improving the prospects for the world major economies and reducing the uncertainties caused by the trade war. So if you look at the U.S. equities, we did yesterday briefly dip below 5,900 before recovering and pushing through the 6,000 mark. Yesterday in the video, we discussed eyeing that level for a bounce. We also discussed the outperformance of copper and silver in the following months coming out of a crisis, regardless of the headline here, whether it's COVID, financial crisis, tariffs, things like that. So we see the gold-silver ratio fall to its lowest level since May 14th. Now, the wild card here is the appeals process, and it was 3 judges that declared it illegal, so we can't say that it was just one that was out to get them. You look at gold futures, they are steadying back after initially falling in response to the U.S. Trade Court ruling deeming that many of Trump's tariffs are illegal. The Trump administration is appealing the process and the ruling, and I think that's where the dip buyers come into the gold market with the Supreme Court here ultimately here probably to decide. Now, the White House could use alternative measures here to impose those tariffs, including that Section 232 level, Section 122 tariffs, and Section 301 investigations. I expect the Trump administration to find other ways to impose these different tariffs. Now, I would suggest, or at least to myself here, to start to look at this gold market, look at that bull flag that's going on here, look at the way that the price action sold off last night, look at these highs in the overnight session and determine, hey, is this bull flag really looking to play out? Perhaps an option scenario would be the best case way to have limited risk while playing that type of bull case breakout and then reducing some of the futures, because the reality is that futures could fall back down to that support level on the August contract, about that 32.25 and slightly below that. So look at an eye of the lower highs on the chart and then look at the bottom of that bull flag here as a likely target on the downside. Now, we do have a lot of economic data here coming out today, including GDP. We're going to have the initial claims. We'll have the continuing claims. We'll also have several Fed speakers. Looking at gold overnight, again, 32.69 to 33.25, unchanged here on the trading session, while the silver market up about 1%, copper up about 0.75%. Now, we discussed the bull flag here. The ETF flows, now the exchange traded funds, they did add about 133,000 troy ounces of gold holdings in the previous trading session. What's happening is if you look at the last 4 or 5 trading sessions on the gold market, it's coming down to a critical level of support, which was broken in the overnight session. So it's very important that the dip buyers, they did come in the overnight session and help support it and bring it back up. But do yourself a favor, look at the last five trading sessions on the gold market, look at those lows, look at the significance of that. So exchange traded funds, they added about 133,000 troy ounces of gold to their holdings. The ETFs, they did cut about 3 million troy ounces of silver holdings in the previous session, but we're going to want to see here how that plays out and if they continue to do that. Now, over the past 5 weeks, US Bitcoin ETFs attracted about $9 billion in inflows, while the gold-backed exchange traded funds here suffered outflows of about $2.8 billion. We talked about the rotation that's occurring here, and many of you are also trading Bitcoin June and July futures contracts here for the leverage rather than owning the outright vehicle, because of the fact that you can replace the vehicle with the futures contract. So looking at the year-to-date percentage change, you got gold up 6.2% for the ETF flow. You got silver 3.1% big decline. Gold-silver ratio sitting at about 99-1, but dipping much harder last night. We'll want to look at for that 97-1 on April 23rd. And then you got crude oil futures. A lot of people are looking to reduce on those bounces ahead of the OPEC meeting this weekend, as they tend to come out with a shocking number of these production estimates, although they've been unable to achieve those in the past. We're also monitoring other markets like soy meal, sugar, Bitcoin, the dollar index here, which have all played a role on the gold market, on the metals markets, and of course, US equities running into the resistance zone. So if you got any questions here, send an email to info@bluelinefutures.com. And remember, futures and option trading does involve risk of loss, may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.